Okay. All right, we're recording, correct? Okay, we're recording.
Okay.
So I am joined with Taylor Mulholland. She is the host of the Spiritually Fucked podcast. She's a really interesting person. She's
Say the least.
to say the least. I mean, you're gonna find out if you don't already know. We did a podcast together before, and it just flowed so well. I was like, yeah, of course you can come on again, 100%. So here we are. And so Taylor, I haven't been in touch with you directly really since the last podcast. So I'm curious, what have you been up to?
Okay, I've been up to a lot. So I was supposed to be in India. My brother is moved there, so he said I'm gonna get up and move to India. And so I thought, oh, this is my time to go. I'm gonna go with him. And so we were planning this whole trip, and my intention for this trip was to spend time with him and to go see the world and disconnect. Like the biggest one was I just wanted to disconnect from everything. And so I actually left. We flew to Chicago on January 25th, and then the next day we're supposed to fly out, and we're standing in line getting our luggage checked, and I'm ready to go, but something with his visa was happening, and so we couldn't fly out, and so anyways, long story short.
So he couldn't leave?
So he couldn't leave because passport stuff
Yeah.
happening, and so we shipped the passport, and the passport got lost in the mail, and it was just like this whole mess.
Damn.
So I was stuck in Chicago for a week, and within that week, the intention I set out to do or experience in India happened within that week. I got to spend time with my brother, and then I disconnected from the world and completely reconnected with myself. I was way more focused on like what was important to me, and it was a huge it just made me realize that intention truly is everything, and like I didn't need to fly 17 hours to like, do the spiritual retreat. Like I had my little spiritual retreats being locked in a hotel in Chicago for a week, and so I flew home, but all my friends think I'm gone. And so I'm still in this hiatus where my friends literally think I'm still in India. And I've just been at home, and I completely had this whole like disconnect from the world, reconnect with myself, and that's when I started to do my practices again that resonated with me, and I stopped listening to what other people were telling me to do or how to heal, and I just went back into like what works for me, and I feel like I'm at a really fucking potent place right now. And a lot of shit happened within those 2 months, and so
It's been 2 months that you've been on this hiatus.
Yeah.
So you haven't talked to any of your friends? You haven't been posting on socials?
No, none of it. I've talked to very few selective friends, and you know, it was really sweet because some of my friends were like texting my mom like, dude, what the fuck's up with her? And I'm like, that bitch is a real homie. And then I'm like, wait, what are the friends thinking that aren't reaching out? I'm like, what are they doing?
That she's wandering through the mountains of India?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
and so, I mean, it was very Pisces season. Like I went internal, like was working through like subconscious shit. And then I'm going to make my appearance in the Aries season. So naturally as an astrologer, I'm following the seasons.
Nice. And it makes me think of how beautiful social connection is. But some of the most transformative periods of time in my life have been when I'm completely by myself. For me, it was this dark night of the soul experience that brought me actually to India during COVID. I was at an ashram, a Shiva ashram in just north of Rishikesh called Pulchati, just right on the banks of the Ganges, as like the world's imploding, which was interesting. And then I came back to the States and went to Zen centers, worked on farms, worked on a Sikh community, which is a Eastern religion. And that period of time traveling solo, when I didn't have any of the my friendships, the other kind of profound relationships in my life, that's when I had that really, I think, essential opportunity to connect so deeply to myself. Because usually, unconsciously, we are understanding who we are by reference to how other people perceive us and treat us. So when we remove those other people, we have this question, who am I? Yeah. And that's such a potent place to be, to, in my opinion, start to create and discover who we are, who we want to be without the limitations of other people. And I see it also with family. Like so many people that never move away from home, they're getting conditioned by their family system, which is convincing them of, oh, I'm like this. For me, when I moved to Colorado out of upstate New York, that's when I had the opportunity to decide who I am, because nobody knows me. Nobody knows who I am. No one knows if I'm faking it, whatever that means. Because for me, it's like, this is pretty deep. But when you recognize the emptiness of self, the whole notion of authenticity just gets flipped on its head. Because authentic to what? Authentic to what? Empty, fabricated ego, self-sense. Recognizing they're all made up. We have the permission to be anything that we want. And that's where I started to step into something profound. Stepping into images of healer, king, prophet, playing with these things, because who says that I'm not? Literally, only I get to choose. The views of other people are going to be equally as fabricated as the views that I hold about myself. So if someone's like, oh, he's faking it, the question is, faking what? According to who? Like, it's like, you know what I'm saying? So you get that beautiful opportunity to really, like, almost phoenix from the ashes it. You know what I mean? Let that old self die, be composted into something new. So I'm curious, has that been your experience on this hiatus?
Yeah, it was just, I feel like, okay, in human design, we have the same chart. So
we were born on the exact same day, actually. Yeah.
And 25 minutes apart.
Yeah.
Or 50 minutes, whatever. So we have an open Agni. So like we have an open headspace. And so which is a gift, but also the shadow side is we absorb a lot of external things.
Yeah.
And so I was just noticing, or I just didn't know what was mine and what was someone else's. And so I went through this period of like just being with myself. And what I really learned is how to self-cope. And I noticed all the times I wanted to text a friend or like message someone, and I would pause and I would say, okay, no, you made this commitment to yourself. You're on this hiatus. Like, why are you messaging them? Yeah. Are you messaging them to get, validation, or you need like a little help? Like, what can you give yourself? What can you give yourself? And so it was realizing what was mine and what wasn't. And a lot of the subconscious patterns, like you mentioned, the word subconscious, and I was like, oh, this has been the past 2 months of just going into the subconscious patterns and realizing like what I developed from my parents, what I developed from societal conditioning, and like really being like, is that mine? And if it's not, how can I transmute it and let it go? Like, and for me, that's taking the lesson from it, forgiveness. Yeah. Then it can be set free.
Beautiful. And there's something so profound in what you're saying about conditioning. What's my parents? What's the cultures? What's my friends? And what's actually mine? As far as, again, the beliefs, the self-beliefs, the concepts, the mental stories, are those really real, or were those conditioned from culture? Were these belief systems that we inhabit, are they objectively real, or are they constructs and fabrications that came out of the mind of a human? Right. So then the question is, what's real? And in Buddhism, that's the most potent question to ask. What is real? And what I've found is if we really spend a lot of energy and effort and time coming back to ourselves to really remove what is the cultures, remove what is my family's, remove what is society's, and see what we are, that's a direct path to what I call existential liberation, actually. Or at the level of existence, we connect with what you can call the void. There is no way that things are. There's no way that you are. We are only what we dream that we are. The world is only what we dream that it is. And limitation and suffering are dreamed up concepts and experiences built off of empty foundations. And we can explore that for ourselves to have an embodied experience of deep liberation. So there's depths to this. There's depths that the ego actually fears. Because the ego, the solid self sense, is terrified of the void. Because that is analogous to an ego death. If the ego is void, it doesn't exist. And really the secret, the spoiler alert, is that there never was an ego to begin with. It was always a fabrication. And it is right now. Every person listening to this is actually experiencing a fabricated projection of self. It's not actually there beyond our mind creating it. So there's something so profound there, is when we let the eyes adapt to the blinding light of liberation, we realize, oh, this is the place to be. I don't need to be a real, quote unquote, thing, a real person, to be blissed out, deeply fulfilled, deeply at peace. Actually, it's the illusion that there is something solid and real here that constructs so much of our suffering, like, for instance, death. When we see the voidness of any self-sense, what dies? Who dies? Is the body me? Is this mind me? Is the character me? When we can identify not only with ego, but also with the void, we interestingly balance the mind. We balance identity. We come back to reality and recognize that the void nature of self and the ego, the nature of form, they're just two views that we can pick up and put down at different times. So it's beautiful to say, hey, this is just Ben and Taylor chilling. Ben and Taylor, the humans. But my question is that our only option for identity? And what I'm presenting and actually starting to teach is what I like to call like a multi-dimensional experience of identity and world, past and future, where it's not one way. I am Ben the human. This is Taylor the human in front of me. But also we are simultaneously so much more than that. So can we open up dimensionality to our experience of self, where I am also angel, I am also void. Taylor is also angel. Taylor is also void, and thus unfathomable, infinite, boundless. So when we hold those views, where let's just say Taylor and I are angel right now, directly from source, and there's quite a bit of truth in that. Again, that's a very valid interpretation. It shifts how I see you. It shifts how I speak to you. It shifts how I relate to you. It shifts actually the feeling in my body. And that's when we are starting to enter new worlds, really. Recognizing the world we're living in is a one-dimensional, flat, honestly, usually pretty cold place when we're conditioned by materialism and scientism. So we're opening up the fact that, could I be angel? Because guess what? We are cut from the same cloth as the stars in the sky, as the entire Milky Way, and beyond that. How could we be anything else? And that's, again, an equally valid perspective as saying I'm just a human. And both views are not right or wrong. They're actually both empty and fabricated. So that's the money right there, is recognizing there is no way that things are. So we get to choose. And what? So I see a lot of the issues with the world as a consequence of actually a lack of creativity. And the chains on the psyche saying, no, I can't be an angel. That's ridiculous. I'm just a human, because everyone says so, right? Those are chains. Those are limitations. And they're empty. They're made up in our minds. In a sense, we are creating our own chains. And then we're like, fuck, this sucks. I wonder why. Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying with that?
Okay, it's so funny. I'm remembering. So I had a dream 2 nights ago that you sent me a voice message, which the voice message was 5 minutes and 14 seconds, which is her birthday.
Whoa,
but
tricky.
You started off saying, hey, everyone, welcome to the Everything and Nothing podcast.
I fuck with it.
I'm like, wait, that is fucking good. It's everything and nothing.
Yeah.
It's just, what do you decide?
Yeah.
What are you choosing?
Mm-hmm. And there's a beautiful quote that I reference regularly if you listen to this podcast, which is by this Indian saint, Nisargadatta Maharaj. It's kind of a tongue twister, but he says, wisdom knows that I am nothing. Love knows that I'm everything. Between the two, my life flows. And there's some profound truth in the recognition of our voidness, the emptiness of any self-sense, starting to connect with this concept of zero in a very embodied way, where this notion of the infinite and the boundless is actually seems to blend and blur and almost seem identical to this concept of zero. Because when I am nothing, when the delineation between whatever this is and the world out here starts to blur and fade, we become infinite. There's no boundary between me and everything. And at that point, I can start to also see, if my world is constructed in my mind, then so is this thing I call me. And the world opens, not just in a conceptual way, but in a very embodied way, when we learn the skill of embodiment in our culture. Because in the West, we live from the neck up, basically. We live in mentally constructed worlds. It's difficult to access the wisdom and the truth and the knowledge that is already stored in the body, where actually a lot of these deep truths are already known. People that live, again, mostly in the head have a difficult time grasping, for instance, paradoxes, like the everything and nothing kind of thing. Yeah. Or in the Heart Sutra, they say, there is no old age, sickness, and death. And there is no end to old age, sickness, and death. How can it be both? The logical mind is like, well, which one is it, you idiot? And it's like, can we sink into something deeper? The deeper knowing in our heart, in our gut, where we already know these truths. yes, of course, we grow old and die, duh. But also when we connect with our formless identity, our infinite identity, again, the stars, the clouds, the rivers, everything, the aliens in the spaceship, that's also you. It's all consciousness manifesting. At that point, what could possibly die? So this comes to the Hinayana Buddhist notion of the deathless, where they say it's absolutely essential that if we crave enlightenment, we connect with this experience of the deathless, of recognizing that as an equally valid identity that we hold, is that what we are could really never die. And that's like, it's a lot of people, it's a fun Instagram to read, or it's kind of trippy, you're like, oh, that's dope. It's different when that sinks into the heart and the body, where reality shifts and you start to live in literally a world. For me, the experience is actually time is sensed quite differently, where we can even say, if there's no death, is there any such thing as scarcity? When there's no time, what do we have here? We could say eternity, but that's not quite accurate, because it's a place beyond time. Time is seen also as a fabrication of consciousness. And at that point, what is scarce? There's nowhere to go. We've been here for, again, eternity. That's the best word for it. And eternity doesn't end. Yeah. So there's something so profound that happens in the being, healing wise, mental health wise. Like, I see this mental health crisis as something that needs to be addressed with profoundly different insights than what psychology is offering. AKA, for me, Buddhism. This tradition has gotten into the coding of experience to show you, hey, this thing called suffering, this thing called solidity, ego, they don't exist. They never did. And that is not a bummer. That is an invitation into a profound sense of liberation, where things fall into place organically. The anxiety, the depression, these are built experiences based on certain conceptual frameworks, belief systems, senses of the world that are torturing us. And when we recognize that, we can just ask the question, are these real? Are these belief systems that really hurt, are they even real? And again, spoiler alert, if you really dive into that question, you'll find that they are not real in the way that we think that they are. And so I think the mental health crisis, it doesn't go deep enough. The solutions, psychologically speaking, like, let's say like SSRIs, it's just hilarious. That is like, we're trying to numb a psychological issue instead of going to the root and saying, hey, like, these belief systems that are, again, causing me to become like suicidal, are they real? But again, the ego doesn't want to question that because it's terrified of groundlessness. So it's like we put like a governor on the liberation that we can achieve in psychology. And the future is much more profound than that. Recognizing, again, existential liberation. This goes beyond psychology. And again, this is something that's fun to talk about. It's another thing to practice so that it sinks and becomes your lived experience. And then... yeah, that's just what I'm so stoked to teach, to be honest. But
yeah. I love that. You mentioned the word void, and that people are afraid of the void. Well, the womb space where you come from is the void.
Totally.
And this is where the suppression on sexuality comes from, is because people are so fucking scared of the void.
Yep.
And so they shame sexuality. They shame women. That's literally where life comes into this world. And so it's repressed in women's bodies. It shows up as PCOS. It shows up as health issues.
PCOS?
It's when you have cyst on your ovaries.
Really?
So it's when your body literally has, it like builds protection.
It's fighting the feminine? The body itself is? Is that what
yes,
you're saying?
because your mind is creating this repression. Totally. And what you repress or what you suppress, it shows up in your body.
Exactly. That's so beautiful. And again, this age that we're stepping into is characterized by the embrace of the feminine rather than the rejection, the fear, and the attempt to control and actually just strangle the feminine. Due to, again, the ego's fear and insecurity around the unbridled power of the feminine. And you can hear that at many different levels, where it's the feminine in like feminine bodies. You know what I mean? You can see how the masculine has oppressed that for thousands and thousands of years because they're afraid, in my opinion, of the power of the feminine when she is really in her power. So it's not just like physical oppression, but psychological oppression, where it's so conditioned in the culture where so many women are just like conditioned to be small. And that's where, shout out my girl Mars, who has a superpower of being so in her feminine, the chaotic, the beautiful, the powerful feminine, that it just bleeds onto everyone else and opens everyone else up. It opened me up. I said thank you so much to her the other day, because she opened something in me of like stepping into that power of the feminine within myself, that sexual eros, desire, flow, openness, love, really. And it's changed my life dramatically. We were talking before that you're like, yeah, your eyes are like glowing. Yeah. And I was like, since Envision, it seems like something popped. Like we're open in all channels. All energy channels seem to be like very open. And we're just flowing. And again, there's something about this age we're stepping into where the old ways, AKA honestly, the patriarchy, the oppressive patriarchy in very overt and very subtle ways, is being deconstructed. And the question is, what does that mean? What is the divine feminine? Because I don't think a lot of people actually have a direct experience of what that is. They have a, again, heady psychological experience of what that might be. But when you really sink into, again, the chaos, the power, the unknown of, again, the feminine or the void, that's where the freedom is. That's where the love is. And it's, again, the fear of, I want to say small people. I want to say small people, I mean human egos. And recognizing we are not egos. I say human egos because that's not us. I'm not saying people. I'm saying their egos that they're unconsciously identifying with. Those egos are terrified of the void. But what's interesting from a deep spiritual lens, what we are is the void. And yet we're afraid of that. And the entrance into the void, really taking that leap of faith into nothingness and also boundlessness, the infinite. While the ego fears it and actually experiences it as an ego death, that jump into the void is the gateway to, again, existential liberation. You can call it nirvana, you can call it awakening, you can call it moksha, you can call it the kingdom of God. It's when we identify, when we start to step into that experientially, that we taste, I could tear up saying it, like the beauty of free fall. The beauty of falling through the void and not needing to hold on to anything, not needing any security, not needing any person, not needing any success, falling through the void and not needing anything. Profound peace, profound bliss. And for me also, there's an opening in the being to something beyond, where if I'm void, what am I? I'm everything and nothing. So I'm you. I'm Trent producing this podcast. I'm the stars in the sky. I am, again, the clouds, the rivers, all of it. I'm the kids, I'm the dogs. So I start to have a larger identity because I'm everything and also void. But everyone's void, so I guess it's all the same thing. So anyways, I start to live in service to that because I recognize, hey, this body is dust, like that. What do I want to be in service to? Just this body, just this ego, fuck all the bitches, make all the money, yacht parties. Like, it's so shallow compared to living a life in service to something greater. And what's interesting is if I live and act, specifically action, solidifies worlds and self-senses. So when I act in service to something beyond myself, the experience of my identity actually widens. And it's a felt sense of, what I am has never been this body. Whereas if I act selfishly, only in service to this self, the ego, then I'm actually solidifying the empty, fabricated experience that the ego is objectively real. Do you see what I'm saying here? When we act in service to the ego selfishly, we're strengthening that, again, that cage, actually. The cage and the stranglehold of self becomes stronger. When I act in service to something else, to something beyond maybe all of creation, aka God, whatever you want to call it, my identity actually starts to expand to hold all that too, because I'm living my life in service to that. Do you see what I'm saying there? So that's one of the natural, actually, it's part of the like ripening and the maturation of what I would call like enlightenment, of really stepping into the void nature of, self-world experience as a whole. But I want to take a step back. That shit's hella trippy and deep. But I want to talk about sexuality and specifically the oppression and repression of human sexuality in the culture we're living in. And so you were referencing this influencer. What's her name?
She's a queen. Kim Anami, we love you. And I just want to say that this has at least been my experience, is what you're meant to like teach in this life, you're going to be obliterated by.
You're going to be what?
Obliterated by.
What is that? Obliterated?
Like life is going to wear you down until you have enough power and strength and confidence to live in it. And that's been my experience with, sexuality, being a woman in general. And so these last 2 months, being on my hiatus, I'm like, okay, let's go internal. Literally, like, let's go internal. Like, let's look at my mental state and let's look at my sexual state with myself. And I realized how I was so attached to this ego. I was so attached to how I was supposed to show up to be loved and accepted. And that was just
intimately.
Just in general by everyone. I think it's the same way, intimately
relationship.
Or relationship. Exactly. And I really just wanted to go on this journey of seeing what do I actually want and not what do I think I want. And, you talked a lot about societal conditioning and all that. And I want to mention that trauma passes through DNA. They've done multiple studies with rats that they always test on rats, but they had these rats smell a flower and then they would shock them. And then those rats had babies and then the babies would smell the flower and they would immediately get scared.
Interesting.
And so it showed that trauma passes through DNA. And so sometimes these beliefs that we have are not even in this fucking lifetime. And that's where the witch wound comes in. And I did a whole podcast on the witch wound.
What is the witch wound?
And it's where women were burned at the stake. And it's passed down in lineages. So women, I know I have goosebumps. Well, I've had goosebumps this entire time. Yeah. And so women in the modern age are scared of speaking their voice. They're scared of using their power. They're scared of being intuitive. Intuition is everyone's gift. Everyone has intuition. Very few choose to learn it or use it. It's a gift that everyone has. It's not just like you're born, you're super intuitive, that person has a gift. It's like everyone has that.
All beings, actually. I heard this trippy fucking study that they did, I think on deer and earthworms, where earthworms, they would send like a bass sound into the earth, and they would like move as a result. And they actually tracked it because they were testing actually if there is some sort of premonition ability in beings. They did it in deer as well. I forget the experiment. But with the earthworms, they could predict, I feel like, up to like a couple seconds right before they would send that sound wave through the earth. And they would all start squirming. They would start moving prior to that. Isn't that insane? So we actually, when we tap into I'm getting chills, the innate powers of this quote unquote human form, I don't fuck with that word, to be honest, of this being, this body that we're inhabiting, this mind, body, and spirit that we seem to be inhabiting right now. When we tap into those innate skills, qualities, and abilities, we can actually, it's all here. It's all here. And this is a part of opening to the feminine, because we are living in very tight, contracted, fear-based times. That's part of the beauty of the apocalypse, where in my mind, the apocalypse and the resurrection are actually identical, like in every way. Because the darkness opens. The darkness brings us to our knees and forces us to surrender. And guess what? When we open to the darkness, it transforms. It transforms into light in every way. And I'm getting chills because what happens when that fear, those contractions are opened and loved to death, not just the self and the perceptions we experience shift, but the world shifts too. Because in a very deep way, again, there is no separation between us and the world. It's non-dual. We can say that anytime there is a world, there is a viewer of the world. Some form, some being is viewing it. Trees, flowers, fish, people, whatever. And anytime there's a person, there has to be a world for it to be relative to. We cannot be a being floating through the void. Then we fade as well. It's non-dual. So recognizing this world is my body. As much as this fleshy thing that I think is just my body, this world is, and I mean everything that could ever be. So when the collective consciousness opens, when we open within ourselves, and again, open the contraction, aka fear, multiple things happen, because fear is a primordial contractive force that does a few things. Fear contracts and solidifies experience. You can look at the quote unquote problems in your life. All of the problems that we experience by nature involve resistance, involve fear, involve contraction. When we remove the fear, the problems fade. Also, the suffering associated with life, associated with death, associated with self, fear, whatever, it all fades. So the suffering fades, and interestingly, the sense of solidity of a solid world and a solid ego starts to fade when the contractions in the psyche expand and open. And we see what's always been here in deeper and deeper ways, which is, again, the experience of void, which is not something we have to run from. We don't have to resist the void. Actually, that flavors it in a very bitter way. But recognizing that when we open to fear, when, again, reality brings us to our knees in the, age of getting nuked, AI takeover, climate change, global warming, what's going to happen, overpopulation, Bill Gates is a super demon. Well, there's so many things to worry us. And that fear, again, is a teacher. It is an angel. The fear is an angel that will bring you to your knees until you learn how to open, not just to the world, but actually to your own mind. Because we're recognizing this world, it's not out there. Yes, it is out there, but it's also in here in every way. What we experience is a projection of internal mechanisms, belief systems, constructs. So again, my whole theory is when fear has been purified in this place, the trauma of existence has been purified. Because let's just say we were from cavemen getting mauled by saber-toothed cats to rape and pillage age, Genghis Khan. And now we're here and we don't have to kill each other, but we still do because it's like a trauma pattern. Mm-hmm. And we're in this age of purifying that fear. Purifying that, again, it's trauma. From if winter hits and you don't have enough food, you're dead. If someone pulls up with 50 soldiers to your village, you're dead. It was fucked. So it's of course we carry that, and we're in the age of purifying that. And it's all according to plan. It couldn't be any other time than right now. And what happens when we purify, again, the collective fear of death? We open up to the deathlessness, the dream, the kingdom of God, recognizing the world can't hurt us. It's only our mind and our resistance to actually our own mind, its own constructs, that is torturing us. So again, when fear expands, suffering fades, solidity fades. There's more luminosity, joy, access to transcendence. We start to be able to play in the void and, again, try on different narratives, different belief systems, and not be limited to one. Because really, the belief that there's only one world or one ego is a product of fear. Because actually the ego, again, is fear. The ego, again, it is fear. There's no separation. It's a contraction of psyche. So I hope this is making sense. It makes sense to me.
It's making sense.
It's crazy as fuck, though. And we're in this age of purification where I am telling you the world will change, because that's us too. So when we open, I'm saying and I'm predicting this right now. The solutions for things like climate change and AI and global conflict will appear. And the question will be, were they always there, those solutions? Or did consciousness manifest them due to when we open and the contractions in psyche? Miracles become possible. And I mean walk on water miracles, where those saints like Christ, or all sorts of mystical saints from various traditions, Eastern traditions, Western traditions, like walking on water, being in multiple places at once, miraculous healings. Are those just stories? Or is that a product of a being that has opened so deeply to love, that has opened the contractions in their psyche so deeply that different things are possible in this place we call, quote unquote, reality, where it functions more as a dream? And what's not possible in a dream? Only the limit of our minds, really. What we say is not possible isn't possible. What we say is possible is. So again, we are the creators in profoundly deep ways that, again, we are just starting to skim the surface of. And it's going to be my life's work to see how deep does this go. Because, again, following the tradition of Advaita Vedanta, which is non-duality, saying there is no two, there is no separation between us and anything else. I am that, Tat Vamasi. If there's a God, again, I am that. If there is a creator, I am that. There's no separation. Again, so that's a view that when we try it on, different things become possible. Why? Because we say so. So do you see what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
We construct chains and we construct the lack thereof. And this is something for everyone to experiment with. Where are the chains? That's where meditation comes in. Because usually, again, we just say, this is how things are. Forgetting that we are constructing or spoon-fed conditioning that is making us believe in a certain worldview, a certain quote-unquote reality. And we're opening to the void, which is also the unknown. What is possible? What will happen? We don't know. But again, I want to just plug that, in my view, the apocalypse and the second coming of Christ are identical in every way. The darkness is Christ. The darkness is a teacher. It's not kind to let human beings just chill in their suffering-inducing views, their suffering-inducing worldviews. That's not kindness. Kindness and real love is poking that shit and saying, hey, there's a much better way to live. It's like the cave allegory. Everyone's in the cave looking at the puppet show. Everyone's like, oh, this is so sick. Life is dope. And then one person gets up and leaves the cave, and they're like, no, you have to go outside. And they're like, what? There is no outside, idiot. This is sick. And do you know what I'm talking about? Plato's cave allegory?
I don't, but I'm curious to look after.
Yeah, it's basically like this kind of allegory where there's a bunch of people in a cave, and they're watching like a kind of a puppet show with the firelight, and they're like, oh, this is reality. And then somebody gets up and dips and goes outside, and they're like, no, you have to go outside. And they're like, there is no outside. What are you talking about? This is it. And those are the people, again, the allegory where we don't even get it yet, right? We're about to take that step as a culture, and there are some that have already done it. And for me, it's like, that's why I call myself like a liberation guide, because I'm going to that place and I'm saying, hey, there's something hella dope I want y'all to see. And like, I'll meet y'all where you're at, you know, psychologically, conceptually, whatever, and I will take you there. And once you see it for yourself, it's not a belief. You don't have to listen to shit that I'm saying. It's more, if something resonates in you, in the listener, from the words that I'm saying, I would say trust that and follow that. And if you're really curious, again, I can take you there. And that's the thing. Are we ready to actually just see the voidness of creation and the beauty of that, and actually then the cascading effects of that insight? Where the Buddha has a phrase, which is ehipassiko in Pali, which translates as come see for yourself. This is not a belief. This is something, once I take you there, you've seen it. And you don't have to convince anybody. You don't have to listen to me. You've seen it. And that's the thing about Buddhism. It's not a belief. It's a matter of slowing down the mind so that and asking the right questions, poking the right things to see clearly what's always been here, what has always been the nature of existence. It's not, again, it's not like you read it out of a book and it's a belief. That's what's so profound about it. It's, we're teaching you something about the nature of mind and the nature of perception and existence, and really they're all one thing. But it's profound. And again, the future is so bright, and I'm so fucking curious about the world we die in when these insights are practiced in community. Because right now, the image I get, I'm like a fish swimming upstream, because it's a lot of work to hold these views but again, I've seen it for myself, so it's not like even a view, it's a knowing at this point. But again, the momentum of the culture is going in the opposite direction. So right now, it's like a lot of work, but as these insights, and again, it's just an understanding about existence, instead of being so caught up in speed and distraction, actually paying attention. When a culture, a group of people, and the second coming of Christ, or Maitreya Buddha, will be a community. It won't be an individual. When a community can recognize this, let this sink, and so that it becomes embodied, and then start to spread this, the new children that enter into that society, that culture, will not have a solidified, reified belief system about what this thing is right now that we're experiencing. They will be free from birth. That is what will happen. I'm getting chills because I already see it. So beautiful. What do those beings do? Who do they become? What do they become? How beautiful of a place can we build from the inside out? And it is, again, quote unquote, from the inside out. So again, the second coming will be a community. And I'm so curious, when that community merges with something as unbelievably powerful in the 3D realm, like AI, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Where are we going? Where are we going? I'm so curious. Yeah, thanks for listening to me riff. These have been fire riffs. I'm so glad this shit gets recorded.
I feel like we just open up a channel.
Literally, welcome to the channel.
Welcome to Everything and Nothing podcast.
Yeah, Everything and Nothing. It's interesting. I'm gonna eventually change my podcast title just so that it's more appealing. I think Spiritual Fuckboy is fucking genius.
It's iconic.
It's iconic, but like some people just, I'm not gonna lie, it is like some people are not like self-aware enough or aware enough of mind to like get the joke, the satire there. But so I want to change the name to Live from the Source. Because guess what? What are we doing 24/7 right here?
I love it.
It's live from the source all
it's
fucking
live.
day. Yep. Straight, no middleman, just untapped, straight from the pure waters of the source. That's what's going on right here. So, and that's what's going on actually all the time with everybody when they get out of the way.
We're just recording it.
Exactly. We're just recording it. So, but I want to go back to sexuality because I think that is one of the major contractive fear-based sources in our culture today, which is I think it comes from multiple places, but specifically the how would I say, like monotheistic conditioning from, I mean, any monotheistic culture, Islam, Christianity, Judaism. There is a almost a denial of human urges, which I think at that time when they were developed thousands of years ago, there's a reason for that. Again, it's just rape and murder and just, again, what was life like 3,000, 2,000 years ago? It was fucked, literally fucked. You need this belief system and you need it to be solidified to teach people that are have no education, to give them guidelines of how to live. Now we're in this place where conditions have shifted and so many people recognize like formal religion is like just not it, but they don't have another alternative. So you see some very intelligent, very like awake people clinging to something like fundamentalist Christianity out of fear. You know, because they don't have another option. They're like, I don't know what else it would be. I guess I'll just cling to Christ because that's what my dad does. But again, one of the outcomes of clinging out of fear to those belief systems is that we enter into a world of suffering and solidity. And also then we just take everything at face value, like the repression of sexuality. And I want to plug again the emptiness of ego. Whose sexuality is this? Whose desire, whose eros is this? Is it Ben's? Because Ben never existed. What are we? Live from the fucking source 24/7. And that's the question. Can I let that flow? Or am I going to say, oh, my mom said that was wrong? Or remember that like priest who said, if I do this, I'll go to hell. And that's scary. And all of a sudden, guess what? When I think I'm going to go to hell, there's a contraction out of fear. And my mind solidifies this real thing called hell. And then because it reifies and solidifies that and makes it seem real, I have this real thing to be afraid of. It was never real. Your resistance to this thing called hell made it real. When you can love it all, everything starts to fade. And I want to talk about sexuality also because I've been posting a bunch of shit from Envision. And I'm with Mars, Shayna, my friend Mia, Jacqueline, Valentina, my homie Koa. And we're all, like, I would say, deeply free physically in our hearts and all the energy channels, really. Well, different people in different ways, but deeply free, especially sexually. And I start to post stuff of just me, like, making out with this, one of the girls that I really love, Mars. And so many people, I lost legit, like, I think probably like 1,000, 1,500 followers from posting that. And then just a post of all of us hanging out. And so much hate in these comments. And I'm like, yo, we're literally like arm in arm. It's not even like an ass shot. Like, I don't know what the fuck these people are freaking out about. But that's the thing. I swear, when you shine bright, when you're unapologetically open, authentic, trusting, loving yourself so fully that I'm not afraid to express the desires in my heart. And guess what? I know whose they are. And I'm not afraid. When I have that light shining unblocked through me, we're going to illuminate the demons in other people, all the darkness and actually all the contraction, all the fear, all of the ways that those people are not yet free will become obvious when they see people shining brightly. And so many people point the finger at me and they're like, this is demonic. This is pornography. What are you doing? What are you, like, how could you? You call yourself a spiritual teacher, a therapist? Like, I'm like, what? Like, literally, I don't even work here. I'm just out here chilling. And all these people have an issue with, and it's like, what, again, is it the fear of connection? Is it the fear of love? Is it the fear of openness? Is it the fear of sexuality? Because really, where is the contraction in that psyche? Do you see what I'm saying there?
Yeah. Well, if these haters, like, the way I see it is if they had confidence in their self or even knew who they were, they wouldn't give a fuck what you were doing.
Exactly.
It's the fact that they have to project and just share hate on someone. It just shows how disconnected they are to themselves.
Exactly. And again, it's like all the parts of them that need some love as far as like, do people like me? Am I enough? Those are the parts that are like seem to arise and actually ask for attention. Where it's like, hey, can you hold me? And instead of holding those parts, so many people, especially on Instagram, I'm like, yo, these motherfuckers are writing me paragraphs. I don't even know y'all. What the fuck is this?
Yo, people
like,
are insane.
But that's the thing. It's like, it's so trippy because it's like their demons then get projected onto me because what they're trying to do, and this is not conscious. Again, this is a mechanism of identifying with ego and the cascading effects of smallness and fear that are associated with that. But their demons get projected onto me, and they're trying to drag me down to their small, contracted level. They're saying, who do you think you are? Why would you do this? You know, you're wrong, you're evil, you're feeding demons. And I'm like, that's so interestingly paradoxical because I'm chilling. I'm posting about my friends and how much I love them. Like, literally. And then these people are, like, again, projecting all over me. And I'm like, and that's the thing about projection is you can really see who a person is, what demons they harbor. Recognizing so many are harboring demons, these unloved parts, experiences, emotions are unloved and kept at arm's length, and thus they turn into these cold, painful, hate-fueled parts where, again, like you said, when someone is really whole in themselves, I don't give a fuck what somebody's doing unless they're like influencing me directly. Go live your life. I don't have your dharma. I don't have your path, but I do trust the path that they're on, you know, and there's a sense of perfection there where it's like I feel almost like like a demon slayer where we shine so bright, and this is the age of purification. This is what the second coming and the resurrection and apocalypse is all about. All of our fears, personally, self-based, and also in the world, are coming to the surface because guess what? We can't kill those demons unless we see them. And when I say kill, I mean it's like, again, paradoxical. We kill them with love.
Yeah, you love them.
To death. Because, again, what we resist persists. What we embrace and love transforms. And that's where I've come from. I've loved so many parts of myself that they all fade. They all know that they're taken care of. They all know that I got them. So it's like with Mars, for instance, when we're at Envision, I love Mars. And when she is, like, going around flirting with dudes and, like, literally whoever, because that's her thing. She has that's a part of her, and I think it's beautiful. It's complex, and it's not. In my opinion, there is some pain there also that is fueling her, and I'm so curious who she is and how she acts when she's not in pain. And we're gonna talk about that. Actually, work together on that. But she's an absolutely beautiful creature, and I love all parts of her. And to see her do that when she's like talking to some dude, it forces me to come back to myself and be like, hey, am I enough? Bay's out there flirting with homie over there. She didn't even talk to me about it, which is cool, obviously. Like, she's flowing. You know what I mean? And we have a relatively new dynamic. So we're also learning how to splash around in those waters. But when she's, like, again, flirting with some other dude, I'm like, so something arises somatically in the heart or in the throat. And it's like, can I hold that? And when I can, guess what? It fades. And I'm like, I'm dead ass fine. Shorty can do whatever she wants. But I'm holding all these parts within me.
Because you let it come up.
I let it come up, and I hold it like a little baby. I'm like, I got you, you're good. And all of a sudden, it stops crying. It stops asking for attention. When you feel that tug in your heart, for instance, in a situation like that, and you're like, fuck, put it away. I hope no one sees this. I hope no one sees my weakness. You make it louder, stronger, and cry more. So that's the thing. I can just hold it myself, and then again, any sort of issue and quote unquote problem fades, and Bae can do whatever she wants, and I'm still gonna be here for her. And I told Mars, shout out Mars, I love you so much. I was like, I'm gonna heal your daddy wounds. Aww. And she's like, you are gonna heal my daddy wounds, because what other guy is gonna let her do that and run around like that, again, getting numbers, flirting with dudes in front of me? It's almost I talked to her recently, and she's like, and I was like, yeah, it was like clearly a test. And she's like, it was a test. It is a test, because it's like parts of her are like, will daddy hold me if I'm fucking all these dudes? And that's the question. Will daddy? And I guarantee who else is whole like this? I'm going to start teaching this to men, because we need men who are so whole in themselves that they show up with that unbridled love. And that's the thing. So many girls that now I'm like connecting with, there's parts of them that come up and don't trust. Is he telling the truth when he tells me all this shit about I love you, like all the beautiful things I say to girls? They're like, is he telling the truth or is he lying? Due to all that wounding. But when I'm so whole in myself and that cup runneth over, there's a recognition that love is actually infinite, that I can show up in depth and really hold multiple people emotionally and really show up for them in a way that is deeply nourishing for them. Hold them emotionally, physically, mentally, intimately, spiritually. You know what I mean? When I am not limiting that flow of love within myself, when I'm so open that I can really connect deeply with multiple girls. And some people don't believe it, but that's because they haven't seen a motherfucker like me. and that's actually facts. And this girl, she's actually flying out today. I'm gonna pick her up in the airport, but she was like a part of me doesn't like trust it. You know what I mean? She was like, seeing all the Instagrams with you and Mars, like something in me got triggered. And I was telling her, like, that trigger, that thing that comes up, that is that little girl in you that just wants to be seen, that just wants to be heard. And I'll hold her with you. And she's like, can I trust you? Are you lying to me? And I was like, listen to the words that I'm saying. Never. If I was with you now, you could feel the truth in my body. There's no faking it here. What I'm saying is facts. It's live from the source, 24/7. And that's the thing. The question is, can you trust that? And can we actually open to holding ourselves, not necessarily needing anyone to hold us? Because at that point, when I'm holding myself fully, cup runneth over. And I can still taste the beauty of someone holding me. And I love that. I need women in my life, or else I don't like need it, but it is much more optimal, pragmatic, just the way to be, obviously, because I'm very masculine. But again, we don't have to put all our eggs in one basket. And this is, I guess, sort of a pitch for polyamory. I'm not like completely polyamorous. I'm like open. I don't even work here. I'm just showing up and seeing what's good.
It's like, why label it?
Why label it? I'm trusting my heart. Again, in an interesting way, any kind of label, it could be viewed as like some need for certainty and contraction. And it's like, I don't live in fear. So we're just here. Whatever this is, call it what you want. And that's the thing. It's so beautiful to me to actually have this experience of like being that authentic with these women and showing up for them in such a beautiful way, where I am so radically open, so transparent, because I know myself and I love myself. I don't have to hide. So girls can see me and they fuck with that. They're like, okay, I can trust this dude because I can see him. There's not the mask. And it's like, and that's the thing. So I don't want to be the only dude for all these girls that I love. Because again, if it's not a monogamous thing, I can't show up for them all the time. So what we need to do is heal the masculine. Because I was talking to Mars. I'm like, Mars, you can do whatever you want. You can fuck with these dudes, but I wish you would just pick better dudes. Because I don't want you to pick some shithead and get hurt. I love you. And if you're getting hurt by some awful dude, that affects me. So it's like, I want a community of dudes that I fuck with, that are good, that know themselves, that have a real heart. And then they can be with like these girls, because I just love them so much. I just want them to get taken care of. Whether it's me or somebody else, I just want them to get taken care of. And so that's what I really want to start teaching, because it's a way of relating to self, where all of a sudden the pain fades when we hold all that trauma. Especially as men, we can do that in community and then show up for women in a much more whole, liberated, loving way. Why? Because we love ourselves so deeply. Because that's the thing. It's not like a jealousy thing if shorty's getting with someone else. Obviously, there's like an energy thing where it's like if we're together, then there's some subtle energy playing there, where we need to feel into that to make sure everyone is feeling, seen, taken care of, heard, felt, whatever. But I see the future as so beautiful when we're not, and this was something I was playing with today, and I have nothing against monogamy, and I think that there's things that open in monogamous relationships that aren't possible in polyamorous relationships, and obviously vice versa. So nothing against monogamy, but there's something just in my mind where I was thinking about monogamy, and I'm just going to prompt the question. I know people are going to fucking hate on this, but it's, is monogamy coming from a place of fear and scarcity and ego? Is it, again, it seems like objectively the move to some, but is that due to holding a belief system of the contraction of ego, the fear, the suffering, the solidity associated with that, the scarcity associated with that. What happens when we see through that, open up to timeless abundance? I'm just curious what shifts. And I'm not saying monogamy doesn't happen organically, but can it happen from a place of like real love rather than fear and scarcity? Do you see what I'm saying with that?
Yeah, and I think the problem is, and I know you know this too, it's saying your way is right and my way is wrong.
Exactly. And I will never say that for a second, because I don't believe it's true. Again, I think creation flows flawlessly. And like I said, there's certain amounts of depth and being seen, being felt, and being heard that can only occur in monogamous relationships. I'm pretty convinced of that. I don't think there's parts of me, depths of me, that I would feel safe enough to give to somebody. Well, actually, I don't know. I'm actually willing to say I don't know. Maybe I actually, again, if I have a community of dudes who I actually really fuck with, and like I'm not gay, so like no gay shit. Not that that's an issue, anyways. But but like just like homies that I know have my girls and literally like genuinely care about them. When I have that, again, can I still trust the depth? Trust that I'm still deeply loved. You know what I mean? And however that pans out, because obviously even in polyamorous relationships, it's not equivalent. There's different degrees of chemistry and love and openness and familiarity. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but ultimately from that place of radical wholeness and self, my question is, what do we do and what do we want? And there's no wrong answer. That's the kicker. There's no wrong answer.
Yeah, it's going to look different for everyone. And it's just, what is your soul meant to learn in this life?
Exactly.
And what experiences are you allowing for that to happen?
Totally.
And what you're resisting is it you that is resisting it? Or is it the passed down generational trauma? Totally. Or is it this life's experiences that are nagging on you? And are you gripping to these things because of fear? Mm-hmm. And you said the word resurrection a lot. Mm-hmm. And I've been living in this saying is the resurrection is consciousness. Yeah. It's what's happening. Mm-hmm. And we can, the more we resist it, the more we resist the darkness or say it's wrong or try to figure out ways to fix it, is the more it's going to come out. And you always say the saying, like, the bombs sometimes need to drop and sometimes things need to shatter. Yeah. And they need to break for us to see what was meant for us and what wasn't meant for us to hold. Exactly. And, it's just like the process of alchemy. It has to burn. It has to break. Yep. It has to, I don't know, whatever the fuck else happens. Like, it has to go through the process. But the more we resist it, the more we put it in a cage and shove it aside, the more it's going to repress. And then it shows up in illnesses in our bodies. Yeah. And then that's when, shit hits the fan and you have to reevaluate. And that's why we see so many people, like, fucking so sick. Yeah. I mean, granted, you could blame Big Pharma for all of it. But you, as a human, are an energetic match to receive that illness. Totally. And so it's like, you can blame the seed oils. You could, listen, seed oils, just avoid them. Like, they're not great. But you could avoid literally every mycotoxin or microplastic, every seed oil. You could eat your fucking organic avocados. But at the end of the day, you are an energetic match to become sick. Wow. And if you keep blaming Big Pharma, you are still avoiding the trauma that needs to be healed.
So beautiful. Thank you for saying that. And that's the thing, which I see so many like biohacking like influencers. Look at that dude. Do you know that dude Brian Johnson who's trying to live forever?
No.
You haven't heard of this dude?
Who would want to live forever?
Bro. A deeply hurting people, in my opinion. People that don't fully actually taste this life while we're here. Yeah. But it's like, why do you want to live forever? What's this really this fixation on duration? Who fucking cares? It's about quality. And also, there's a belief that is unquestioned, which is, there's a real me that dies. Thus, I'm going to try to make it live forever. And for me, it's not about the duration, it's about the quality of experience. And that quality of experience opens up dramatically through, for me, existential liberation. Dramatically. The fear of death, which haunts us unconsciously. How many diseases do you think that causes? That fear, that contraction, that scarcity, just the unquestioned belief. Of course, death is just objectively real. I'm not saying it's not real. I'm saying it's not real in the way that we think that it is. It's constructed, and really all experience is constructed. So, is it real? Yeah. Is it also completely made up? Yeah, both, just like everything else. So what happens when we recognize that? And again, it sinks from the mind into the heart, into the gut, into the deepest knowings in the being. There's release, expansion of the contractive fear. And then what happens? Because again, so many biohackers are so obsessed with the material, like material world, and they're obsessed with supplements, peptides, exercise, sleep, all of these things. And I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do it. But I've been on that wave, and let's just say the depth of like improvement in life is extremely shallow when compared to existential liberation and what I call liberated reconstruction, starting to really create new worlds. It's not even comparable. It's like you can do as many peptides and drink the green tea and whatever, all the sleep, all the whatever, cold plunge type shit, and you'll notice your experience changes very little. Very little, actually. Yeah, it does change, but like, again, compared to what I am presenting and teaching, it's not even close. And I say that with confidence. When we shift the world that we're living in through shifting conceptions, shifting belief systems and understandings of self, things open up in ways that could bring me to tears, ways that will bring you to your knees. If your jaw doesn't hit the floor from what I'm presenting when it sinks, then it hasn't sunk yet. And that's a truth, and that's just a fact. Because what I'm speaking to is, again, at the level of all of existence being freed at that depth, at a depth that many people don't think is possible. Because, again, there's certain beliefs about quote-unquote reality that are just unquestioned. Like, this is real, right? This is a real world. It has to be, duh. And, yeah, it is. But it's also deeply constructed. I mean, in every way constructed. So, you see what I'm saying with this? Yeah. We are put. So there's this notion of eros, which is desire, and usually people use eros in the context of like sexuality. Like, I desire to merge with a beautiful person. Great. That's only one of the faces of eros. Eros is what drives us to make art, to connect with an image of ourselves, who we want to be, to connect with an image of the world and what we want the world to be. It's eros that drives us. And when we have a certain conceptual framework that we're operating within, for example, materialism, scientism, these belief systems that we just take for granted. So when we're living in a materialistic world, obviously, eros is going to flow in the direction of matter, of stuff, of peptides and exercise and sleep and cold plunge and all that material-based stuff. But when we recognize the world maybe isn't just material, maybe consciousness is more primary than what we're calling matter. Maybe this is a dream or simulation or void. All of those views create a different experience. But when we create a new world, actually that desire, that eros flows, doors are opened, new doors for that eros to flow into the direction of what I call soul making. So this is a term that I learned from this Buddhist teacher, Rob Burbea, where he recognizes that the most meaningful experiences in our lives, experience of deep beauty, connection to self-other world, connection to divinity, transcendence, depth, meaningfulness, all of those experiences, we don't just stumble upon them. They're actually co-created due to feeding certain conditions of mind, certain conceptual frameworks, belief systems, narratives, labels about what this is, what's going on right now. Those belief systems and narratives are either opening doors for perception or closing doors. So when the doors have been opened through existential liberation, eros can flow into radically different places. Like, again, constructing certain belief systems where, for instance, just to ground this in an example, when I'm in the mountains and there's a hailstorm, is it just water particles in the air and a certain temperature and it falls on me? Or is there a divine meaning here? Is there is something talking to me actually? So when I hold the lens of, for instance, emptiness, saying that it's just a hailstorm is equally as valid as saying it is God speaking to me directly. And for instance, when I can then speak to the clouds, to the thunder, when I can have a conversation with it, that conversation, and then again, it's a communication. It's not one way. Things are speaking to me back, maybe not in language, but there's resonances and knowings and actually teachings, which is profound, what is given to us when we can hold a different conceptual framework about reality. So we can open up to a direct experience of God, recognizing that God is fabricated, constructed, built. Or the absence of God is also fabricated, constructed, and built. So the question is, what world do I want to live in? And the freedom is recognizing that one isn't better than the other. Actually, there are views that we can pick up and put down, depending on what's called for. And that's where we have, again, radical freedom and agency as creators to pick up and put down views. Where, like I've said, sometimes I'm just Ben, Taylor, the humans, and sometimes we're so much more than that. And it's the freedom to, again, pick up and put them down, to not be chained to any of them. And that's one of the qualms I have with like New Age spirituality is so many quote unquote spiritual people cling tightly to their new shiny belief system, not recognizing that that belief system will become a cage over time, inevitably. So this is all deeply rooted to ego and the ego's need for security and some ground to stand on. But yeah, I think, again, what worlds can we construct when we start to, again, break the chains of limitation on psyche, consciousness, mind, chitta, whatever you want to call it. And I'm dead ass curious. My guess, it's infinite. It's this, and I like this frame where some teachers, what's his name, Mark Gaffney, said, we live in a cosmo-erotic existence, where what this is the void. And what we're doing when we're liberated, and specifically liberated reconstruction, choosing the views that we want to pick up and put down, constructing different conceptual frameworks to inhabit, literally. It's like we are penetrating the void infinitely more deeply and wider. And it's like a penetration of the masculine and the feminine, form and emptiness, form and void. Do you see how there's like this, we're in a world of duality in every way. You can call it masculine and feminine, call it life and death, call it day and night, you can call it form and void. It's all one thing. Duality. We need, interestingly, polarities of positive, negative, masculine, feminine. We need to separate them so that the energy can flow between them like a battery. If we merge into non-duality, everything fades. Again, subject and object, viewer and the world. When they become one thing, what's here? Hard to say. Right, it's void. So we need to actually construct a sense of duality in order for this charge, and I will call that charge eros, actually, to flow between the masculine and the feminine, between now and the future, any of those things, any duality, anything that's separate. And also recognizing that duality is a construct. So again, we can pick up the view of duality. Also, we can put that down and pick up a view of non-duality, where Taylor and I are not separate at all. One thing, the consciousness that sees this body is the same consciousness that sees Taylor. It's one thing. There's no separation between this body and Taylor, actually. So not just Taylor, but all of creation. It's just awareness. So this is like, again, a meta level, like a meta level of understanding how we are creating in every way. And this is just the beginning. So for me, what is so beautiful is the implications of this. Like the implications, I hope that people listening can like taste that a little bit. And when I say taste, I mean, can you feel it in your heart and in your stomach? Like what's coming, actually. And again, going back to that notion of psychic ability, being able to see into the future. I'll say for me, there's been a knowing in me, and I've said this for actually decades. The world we're going to die in will be completely unrecognizable, not even close. The things that will be possible in that world, and it's not just material things, but what is going to be possible through consciousness will be unrecognizable as we open due to the blessing of darkness in these apocalyptic times. So,
well, I want to mention, because you call yourself a liberation guide, and how that person was like calling you out on Instagram, but you're liberating them through their shadows.
Yeah.
So
trippy.
Yes, it's like, yeah, I am a liberation guide.
Yeah.
And clearly you're being fucking triggered right now.
Exactly.
Like,
and I feel like I need to be a little bit kinder on Instagram, but also fuck them. I'm like dead ass.
dude, it's hard. I went through the phase where I'm like, okay, either I could like fuck them or love them. You know, it's just like, how do I want to act and how do I want to go forth? And it's just, you just have to, at the end of the day, you just have to go
Exactly. Free flow.
You just gotta free flow.
I will say, though, at least when I get these posts where hella people are hating on me, I'm just like, who the fuck are y'all? Y'all can eat shit. I don't know. Like, why? Who?
I think that
comment on my stuff
in
like
those moments, that's when you should make like comedy out of it and art,
Totally.
because that's what spiritually fucked is.
I mean, I
you know,
totally. Like my homie Grady G Space, who's supposed to do a podcast today. He's a sick fucking DJ. I wish I was recording with him today, but he just we posted like a post and collaborated on it together. And so many people are hating, and he just comments like I'm a premarital virgin, so now what? And
I'm like, gonna be like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry, you're right, I'm a slut.
Yeah.
Like, if someone called me a slut, I'd be like, okay, you know what, you're right. Okay.
Actually, that's totally valid. I think again, also it's like much less like painful for me, because it's like anger actually hurts. You know, where I'm like, fuck these people, and I'm like, I'm gonna show them, but then I carry that afterwards, and I'm like, I should have just been like, either said something more loving and teaching oriented or something funny. Because otherwise I'm like, again, it's like that resistance to them interestingly empowers them. Isn't that trippy? Now I'm just putting that together. My resistance to their comments. It's like I'm affirming that there's some reality there by actually resisting them. I'm creating the sense of reality. Do you just see what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
Where it's like if I don't resist it and I'm just like...
Well, it's like the polarity too. It's like one's, you could say, light and one's dark. I don't know. Yeah. It's like there's always polarity in everything. Yeah. So it's like, what is the polarity in this, and how can I like kind of go back and forth between the two?
Totally. And also, like, what are the demons that I'm holding that I'm like have an issue with that? As far as what am I holding on to too tightly? Like being like an actual teacher, or like having something of value to say. Like, what am I holding on to that hurts?
Yeah, well, here's the thing, what I've been learning about triggers and the law of mirrors. So there's a universal law called the law of mirrors. And for someone who still gets triggered, I've been fucking triggered a lot, okay? I'm not going to lie.
Gotta be highly attained to not get triggered.
Yeah. And so you could just point your finger and say they're projecting, which that is true. Mm-hmm. But there's another layer behind that. And so, yes, they might be projecting. Like, my brother calls me dumb all the time. I'm going to call that out. Does he really, like, him calling me dumb is a projection of him calling something in his life dumb. But the feeling it's giving me, that's what I have to deal with. Mm-hmm. So what is the feeling? Okay, maybe I'm not dumb, but the feeling of that comment, I have to sit with.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I feel like he's being... not supportive. Mm-hmm. Where in my life am I not supporting myself? Or I feel like they're being, they're just being mean towards me. Yeah. Okay, well, where in my life am I being mean towards myself? And so that's where you take, yes, they are projecting. The words they are saying are projecting, but the feeling it's giving you, that is something you can work on. And that's the law of mirrors. And so they're actually giving you a gift. Yeah. They're saying, hey, Benny boy, you got to work on this for that next level of evolution. Yeah. And, you know, again, like I said in the beginning, it's like what we are meant to teach in this life, what we are meant to be in this life, we're going to go through those challenges to strengthen us and, you know.
And to open us. And I think you're completely right. And for me, I'm thinking like, there's almost like a defensive part of myself, which is like, if people are going to pick not just on me, but on these ideas that I know are so valuable and the people that I love, there's a part of me that I don't think is actually wrong. That is like defensive.
You're like, yeah, you know, like what? Those
like,
are my
fuck
friends.
y'all. No, exactly. And I think that there's something so beautiful in that. Does it induce suffering? Yes, it does. But also, is the end of suffering objectively the goal? So this is where I wouldn't identify as a Buddhist, where the goal is, Hinayana, Mahayana, Vajrayana, whatever school of Buddhism, the goal is sort of to end suffering. And it takes different kind of paths to do that, and different interpretations of what that means. But for me, again, this comes back to this notion of soul making from the teacher Robert Bea. Is the end of suffering objectively what I want as a being? Because when I recognize the fabricated nature of suffering, for me, something happens where I can start to view experience more as art and theater than something, quote unquote, real, really real. It's theater, it's constructed and also void, but also it feels so, it's a gripping, like a theater, like a movie. It's gripping like that. And some flavors of art require darkness, require fear, require suffering, require anger. And there's nothing objectively wrong with that. And this is not a means of bypassing, actually. This is a means of understanding the mind and just asking the question, what do I want? Is it just the end of suffering? And I think that especially Buddhists who are really aligned with that goal, once you go far enough on that path, and I spent years at Zen centers in the ashram in India, really on that path, for not recognizing that the whole goal of the end of suffering being objectively the path is constructed and fabricated. And it's beautiful, but we need to recognize that it's constructed. It's not objectively the path. The path is only what we make it. So for me, there's something about the end of suffering which is actually attainable, and that's for most people crazy. But it's like when I was on that path, again, suffering and solidity and like reality and time, actually, when you're sitting that much and really letting go in these very microscopic, minute ways, nothing can touch you. It's really, really pleasant. I've said that to people since I've left the Zen center. I could feel that kind of deep openness, which is so blissy. Like nothing can touch you. You're so free. No weird interaction, no statement. You're just so attuned to like letting go spontaneously through that much meditation that, again, nothing can touch you. So experientially, it is vastly more pleasant than the world I'm inhabiting right now. But again, that's not my goal. Is the pleasantness is one flavor of experience. I want the depth. I want beauty. I want meaningfulness, purpose. I want to be brought to my knees sobbing about how much I love life and how much pain I'll be in when it ends. The people I love die. I want to love life that deeply and sink my teeth into this place, not being afraid of this thing called suffering. I'm not afraid of that. What I want is beauty. What I want is the full spectrum of this human experience as deeply as possible. And I think that many people actually align with that. People that don't like Buddhism, I think there's a part of their being that's like, yeah, end of suffering, is that it? Who fucking cares? Like, is that really it? Do you see what I'm saying with this? It's like we shift the goal of the spiritual path, actually, where this notion, because I think also Buddhism and something like psychology are so deeply linked in the sense of it's this medical model almost. Like the Four Noble Truths is, suffering exists, there's a cause to suffering, there's an end to suffering, and there's a path that we can walk to the end of suffering. So it's very like diagnostic and very medical in a sense. And so is psychology. Psychology is like, oh, you feel any kind of suffering, you're anxious, guess what? We can fix that. We can numb that. There's a way out. We can fix you. And it's like that view, interestingly, and in a very subtle way, feeds the suffering due to the resistance to the suffering. Are you getting what I'm laying down right now? Because it's that subtle resistance to suffering that is creating it.
Saying that there's a problem is creating the problem. Like saying we have a problem with equality. You are making the problem by saying there's a problem.
Exactly.
Or what? Okay, I don't know how I feel about this yet, but one of my mentors goes, calling unconditional love is putting a condition on it.
Calling for unconditional, or like labeling it?
Labeling it unconditional love is putting a condition on it.
Exactly.
And I'm like, it made me think for like 10 minutes. I'm like, wait a second.
So like we are like, so by saying there's a left, I infer right. By saying there is good, I infer evil. By saying that I'm alive right now, I am inferring the reality of death. Do you see how the mind is constructing? In Buddhism, they call this a codependent arising. When there's one, there's another. If there's a left, there's a right. If there's a life, there has to be a death. We can move to a place beyond labels like that, where everything starts to fade into a more non-dual experience, which is, again, non-duality is not somewhere else. It's right here, right now. When we hold certain views and have certain relationships to existence and experience. But you're so right. Like this notion, but there's also like a beauty in something like conditional love. For instance, like me and Mars, I'll just point to that. If she's just chilling with all these dudes and not giving me like attention and love, I mean, there's an issue there. Because that's actually, eros is contractual, meaning it's a give and take. It's not just a give, versus love like agape, like kind of Christ consciousness, the universal love. The Tibetans say the highest form of love is love with no object, which I think would translate as agape. So it's like anything that is in my experience is just showered in this agape, this love with no object. It's just it's like the sun. Anything that's light hits is bathed in light. And that's beautiful, but there's different flavors of love that, again, create different worlds. And this is a trippy point. I know we have to end in a minute, but So agape, that universal love, has a really interesting impact on experience. When I'm in that place of, again, I'm the sun. Anything that my light hits is just showered in love. Reality and experience starts to become less fabricated, less built. Just so for instance, separation between you and I fades. We see each other as brother, sister, deeper than that actually, like oneness, a face of myself, a face of divinity is in front of me. So that's a product of holding and practicing agape, where eros has, interestingly, the opposite effect, where it fabricates more. It fabricates, there's a separate Taylor here in front of me, and then like the desire to merge with. I cannot merge with another being, for instance, if we're all one, if I'm living in non-duality. Eros is a requirement, or duality is a requirement for eros. I cannot have that electrical current flow, that desire to merge with another being, if we're all one. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So, and both are necessary. For me, the power and the freedom lies in just understanding that and practicing that. Because sometimes eros is the move. Like, I don't want to be in a non-dual experience when I'm in deep, passionate sex with somebody. It's actually not even possible to have that experience if both people are in non-dual experience, because there's no eros, there's no desire. You're there, so, but I need that fabrication, that illusion of separation in order to want to merge with someone. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not just another being, but also images of myself. Who do I want to be in the future? What world do I want to construct? What world do I want to live in? All of that requires eros and thus fabrication. So in this sense, we can also stop resisting illusion. We can stop resisting the fabricated dualistic experience. And what happens then is the whole notion of fabrication and illusion fades. And we see that this world, I'm getting chills, the world that we're experiencing right now is non-dual in every way, with the separation, with the eros. It's already non-dual. Again, in the end of the Heart Sutra, they say form is emptiness and emptiness is form. I don't think that's at the end, actually. The end is a Gate mantra. But form is emptiness and emptiness is form. These things are diametrically opposed. At least that's what it seems like at first. But again, when we stop resisting life as it is, when we stop resisting samsara, this in Buddhism is the cyclical nature of suffering, where we're trapped in existence. When we stop resisting samsara, we see what it really is, which is nirvana in every way. Samsara and nirvana are identical when we have a certain relationship with it, when we're not pushing and pulling. There's a Zen poem, a death poem from, I think, the third Zen patriarch, where he says, when love and hate are both absent, everything becomes clear and undisguised. Again, love and hate. We cling to love and push away hate. What if we stop both? Everything starts to fade, and everything becomes clear and undisguised. And the non-dual nature of experience becomes known. Wow, sick. This has been quite a riff.
We could go into multiple dimensions.
We could. I know. This has been a sick conversation, though. I love talking with you. We should definitely keep it going. I know. So, I'll give you a chance to plug yourself or anything that you're doing. I mean, I guess you're still on hiatus, right?
Yeah, I'll be back this week. Aries season is March 20th, and I'm prepared with my plugs now. So you can find me at Taylor Mulholland Instagram, sadflowerswritten.com. In person sessions, I do combo, sananga, tobacco clearing, sound healing. I teach yoga. And then if you want to do remote or in person, I do astrology, mentorship, and I'm really funny. So you should follow me on Instagram.
Yeah, I fuck with that actually heavy. I was also reading your poetry book.
I'm so emo in that one.
No, I fuck with it. What is it called? Sad Flowers?
Sad Flowers Written.
I fuck with it.
Thanks.
It's like...
It's really emo.
I fuck with the emo, though. I'm like hella sad boy vibes. Because, again, we are like pretty damn similar because we're born like at the same time.
Yeah. Which
is so trippy. It's cool to see those parts of you and how they expressed and how they kind of bloomed. And it's like, I write poems, too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of them are sad. And I fuck with that sad boy energy so much because it's like there's so much power in that. I could keep riffing on that actually. And I will actually just because fuck it, we have time. But in that sad boy, like pain, there's that contraction, and there's a lot of power in those contractions. So in a very beautiful way, this is sick. So the fear, the contraction in the individual psyche, and the collective, when it finally gets expanded, we see it for what it is. We could call it energy, chi. It's just all energy. But when it gets tight and dense and contracted through fear, it's like a reservoir of energy. So then when it gets released, the experience of freedom, bliss, all of it is relative to the degree of contraction that's been opened. So this is where you see the beauty and the perfection and the divine plan in the times we're living in these prophetic apocalyptic times, where the freedom and the bliss is parallel to the degree of contraction prior. So as we start to open collectively in consciousness, we get to experience what I call like the bass drop of creation, where we step into God That's consciousness. Sick. Do you know what I'm saying though? Isn't that sick? And we're in that bass drop right now. It's like, oh shit, here it is. And we're about to get the fuck down.
Yeah, and the thing about poetry, it's like, I had this feeling. I wrote it down on paper. You read it. You had the same feeling. That is us at the same frequency.
Yeah.
And that is how we build connection.
Exactly.
And that is my mission on this earth when I share my art, when I share my sad poems, when I share my comedy. It's relating to one another. And what else are we supposed to do if we're not human?
Right. That's an open question. But Taylor, thank you so much. Another beautiful episode with you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yes.
And I would love to keep this going. What'd you say?
I love being here.
Okay,
did you guys miss me? Because
I did actually kind of miss you. I was pretty stoked to have you back on because you're such a vibe and
Thanks.
it's easy to talk with you. So
cool.
Yeah. Thank you, and
you're
thank
welcome.
everyone listening.
Yeah.
For that crazy ass shit.
Boom.